Good morning. Welcome to our physically distanced stream. Dana's not on for a minute, so we'll see while she. Technical difficulties.
My battery is dying.
Oh, we've got her now.
Battery
Yes?
is flashing though, so it is going to die in a minute, I think. But we'll just roll with it. It's fine. Hi, good morning to everyone. How is everyone?
Good. How are you? How was your sleep? I heard
great.
last night. This is all Dana
I was awake
needs.
since like 2:30 this morning. So
Why did you wake at 2:30?
I don't know.
Wait, this was not even the baby? This was like
no, this was just my head woke up, and so I don't know. All bets are off for what I
and
may
then
or may not
did you
say
get
today.
out of bed?
No,
or
because
you just laid there?
I lay there and I think, I'm going to go back to sleep. I'm going to do it. And then you try so hard that you're like anxious about not sleeping, and then
Yeah.
and
Well, at
I have
least
no
you
one to
didn't
blame.
call in sick, right?
I thought
You're
about it.
here.
I thought about it, but then now is a bad time to call in sick because immediately everyone would be like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I came and I'm just kind of zombified, which
Yeah,
is a word I just
zombified.
made up.
That's probably a good. That's probably a good feeling for most people. It is,
Yeah.
and just so you guys know too, it's a little bit weird today too. We're
Yes.
having to change up a little bit of how we do church and stuff. You might not see or feel it affecting you as much, but with the governor's restrictions, they're saying one accompanist and one person singing. So we're trying to be careful with that. So we only have 2 people in the band now. So that's a little bit different and stuff. That's why we're doing that. They're asking us to do these things, and we're trying to be safe too and all wear masks and take our temperature when we come in and stuff
Yes.
like that. So we're not being persecuted, but we are striving. Sometimes it is frustrating. I'll admit that. This week, man, I had some times just like, forget it, right? This is too difficult.
Yes.
And a little bit frustrated, but we can still choose to worship together. And it takes a little bit of effort doing it online, I know, but thank you for doing that.
Do you know, so we have right at the entrance there is hand sanitizer and a big sign that says, please take your temperature and everything. I walked right, I did not see that at all. Came right, Matt said something about it and I was like, we have a temperature, we're supposed to take our temperature? Like I had to go back out and I had no idea. I mean, it might not be
what was
safe
your
for me to
temperature?
drive. 97.4.
Oh, so maybe it was working. Mine's too was like 94. Matt said his was like 94,
Yeah,
95.
I feel like that's close to hypothermic. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, it's almost Christmas time. Actually, it's almost Thanksgiving time. Sorry. It's almost Thanksgiving, but everybody's really thinking about Christmas. Are you a big Thanksgiving person, or is Thanksgiving just kind of a stepping stone to?
I love the food at Thanksgiving. Do you want to just bring it out? Technical difficulty.
Okay, we think Dana's not there, so I guess I'll talk. But yeah, anyway, with Christmas is coming, and we were kind of curious too. So Christmas decorations, Christmas movies, Christmas music. Are you doing anything Christmas already before actual Thanksgiving? Yeah, I mean, I don't think they can hear you. So I can just look at you and talk. Are you doing anything? Text in. So we did put up our Christmas lights. I did that yesterday. I got Christmas lights put up. It's pretty easy. I got like a strip across the front, so I do that, and it makes it very easy. And we had them coming on at night. So they were doing that, which is good. And maybe there's a Christmas song or two that's been played in our house, but that's been about it. What about you?
I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back.
Good.
Thank
I
you.
felt so alone.
You know what? My husband doesn't even know this. I watched a Christmas movie the other day. I know.
Tucker, True Confessions.
I know. I am all about, like, you have Thanksgiving, you have Halloween / my birthday, and then you have Thanksgiving. And then the day after that, you go get your Christmas tree and everything goes up, right?
Yeah.
I've had Christmas music on, not in my house, just in the
Not
car.
in front of Tucker,
because
though, too, right?
Yeah, not in front of him. And then one night, I don't know how it happened. One time I was home by myself, which does not happen. So I don't know why that would be a thing. But I watched
That's when you
watched
the Christmas movie.
Yes, I did.
What Christmas movie?
It was one of those Hallmark.
Oh,
I did.
Hallmark
I love
cheesy
them.
Christmas movies.
You know why? Here's what I think about them. There is so much like stress going on in the world,
Yeah, I
and
guess.
those things are like so predictable and so easy. And so it's like you can just sit and enjoy it, and you don't have to like have this moment of like, what's going to happen next, because it's the same plot line, right, for every movie.
Yep.
So you don't have to guess. It's not stressful. So I'm one of those. I do. Tucker does not. He comes in, he goes, "Oh, you've seen this one already." And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "No, I could tell you. This is going to happen." So,
Yep.
you know.
I wonder if anybody's gotten their tree. After I just predict that the day after, like this, it's going to be like Black Friday out there,
for
getting your
sure.
tree on Friday and Saturday. So I don't know what to do. I'm just
It's going to
like
be chaos.
freaked out. Yeah. I always
I'm
want to
getting
get like
mine.
a
I'm doing
scrawny
it.
tree. What do you guys do for trees?
Oh my gosh. We do every other year. I pick a tree and then Tucker picks a tree because we have very
Ooh, that's a
different
good idea.
tastes for trees. And so this year
Let me guess, your tree is big and bushy and giant and costs like $200,
well, not
right?
quite. I do have I have some convictions about that, but his trees are more, not quite Charlie Brownish, but definitely more. And every year he picks his tree out and I'm like, oh, it's going to be so awful. And his has 100% of the time been so much better than mine. Always. I don't know why. But last year he saw the tree that he's going to pick this year and it's the worst. And he still remembers it. He's like, I already know right where it is on the lot and I'm getting that tree.
I knew I loved Tucker so much.
So I'm going to try to go to a different lot
I've
this year.
always wanted
No.
a Charlie Brown tree. He is my hero. In fact, I was out on a little hike yesterday and I found the perfect tree, I thought, this year for my family. I took a picture.
Oh, man.
Do we have this up?
Is it up now?
Look at that tree. Would that not be
my
awesome?
word.
Can you imagine all the decorations you could put on that?
I
You set it
can
up
imagine
on a
them.
stool. You
Yeah.
could put it up on a stool like our
All
table
two of them.
here. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't take up so much room in the
Do
house.
you have an angel? Because it would just take up the whole tree.
Yeah.
Just whoop, right down the tree.
That would be perfect.
That
Anyway,
would
I've
be.
always,
Did
that's-
you take that tree?
No.
Oh, okay.
I did not. That
Just
would be
checking.
illegal,
Well,
right?
it would be, so I probably shouldn't have asked you that.
I didn't. But I desired to. I desire to have a tree like that sometime.
You could go back to that hike and decorate it. What
Yeah.
about if you did that?
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we should do birthdays.
Oh, we
Speaking of
haven't done
Christmas.
birthdays yet.
Nope.
Wow. We've been chatting. Okay, so Gideon, he's my son's little friend. Gideon Barone, happy birthday to
Gideon.
you. Rowan Weed, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Raina Collins from far, far away. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Do you want to take the next two?
Okay,
We can
Isaac
split 'em up.
Dill, happy
birthday.
Jude Bender, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
You want to do the last one?
And Michelle Wolf.
Hey, Wolfs, happy birthday
Also
there.
from a ways away.
Yeah.
And then today,
Today is the day, yes, we've all been waiting for. No, not early shopping days for pre-Black Friday, but our annual business
Let's say
meeting and the hub update.
The
of
super
course, too.
secret something
yeah, the
or
super
another
secret
meeting.
something insider meeting.
Yes.
And remember, too, for all of you that are not yet members, who are not going to be able to go to that meeting, you can also
Yes.
still be a member. We have a membership meeting coming up, so you
In
can be a part
December,
of that.
so you can watch
We'd love
for
to
that.
have you be a
Yes.
part of that and do that.
Yes.
But yeah, today at 2:00 is that one, and then at 3:00 is our building update. So you'll be sure to want to check those out.
3:30, correct? It's at 3:30. 30.
Oh dear, 3:00.
One thing said 3:30. Okay.
We are 3:00. This is the official word.
It did say
will
somewhere
not
3:30, but it is 3:00.
Yeah.
It had to be changed. It's at 3.
It is.
So there you go.
In case you are wondering, so don't show up at 3:30. You will miss a half
You'll be
hour.
late.
Everything. You will be clueless
And it will be
of what is
noticed.
going on.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Today we have something right special right now.
Yes,
What are we
which
gonna
I'm
do?
very excited about. We have baby dedications,
Yeah.
and I like that we're still able to do things like this. Even though things are kind of crazy, like the baptisms, the dedication, God is still moving. Families are
Yes.
still doing cool things. We've got lots of stuff happening. And so, baby dedications, we are doing those now, which is
We're doing them
yay for
virtually.
technology.
We have, we do. It's like a family parent dedication too. A lot of times when we do
Yes.
this because
Yes.
parents are committing to be raising their children for Christ. And Matt went virtually to these families.
Yes.
And part of the things that we always do is have the families introduce themselves and stuff and say a little bit about.
Mm-hmm.
And so you are going to get via video to get to know these 3 different families.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, Matt's going to come out and pray for all of them. So
Yes.
check this out here.
Yes, indeed. Does it all look good? So I guess it'll be on the count of 27. All right, we ready? Hold on. Well, everybody, welcome to our COVID baby edition of our parent-child dedication. And wow, we are excited for this one. Now, we're doing a handful of families today, but this first family is certainly special to me, but I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And so how about we start with you? You introduce your whole family here, and that would be awesome.
So I am David Pratt. This is my wife, Honor Pratt, and our sweet little muffin, Pepper Posey Pratt.
Pepper Posey Pratt, my granddaughter. So very exciting times here. It's awesome to be doing this with you guys. And so kind of what we always do as a church is we ask how we can be praying for you all as you go into the process of raising a little one. We know you want to honor Jesus in this process. And we know, wow, she's very excited about this. And so we know there's many things that you probably are thinking about and care about. But what are some things that we as a church can be praying for you when it comes to raising Pepper?
Yeah, patience and wisdom and guidance as we just start on this new journey.
Well, that is awesome. How about you, Honor? How can we be praying for you as a mom?
I think just be praying that I would also have patience and that I would just remember that every little moment is so special and sweet, and not to get caught up in all the busyness of being a mom.
Nope, I think those are awesome prayers. And Pepper, we will be praying for you as well because the little sin nature is coming out right now. So thank you guys. We will totally be praying for you as a family. And so thank you for sharing with us. And we just are delighted to be a part of this process with you all. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Good job.
It is so good to see you guys. It's been forever and ever. The whole clan is there.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna
so great. Awesome. Well, hey, I'm going to start off here with you guys because you're all looking amazing and you're all being so calm and quiet that all the more you're just awesome. You are super awesome. So how about you introduce your family to all of us as a church? That would be awesome. And then kind of noting the one that is a part of the dedication for today.
Right. This is, we are the Meshes. This is my family. This is Megan, my wife. We have Isabel, Caleb, Ella. This is Milo. You can see Milo. And this is Sophia Jane, and she was born on March 4th of last year. She is the one that we 2019 last year, yes. We can do math. She is we are dedicating today. We have really found she has brought us a lot of joy, and she is our most energetic and interesting one as far as getting into everything. So, we love her to pieces, and we're really excited to dedicate her today.
No, that's super awesome, man. So I know you said you had a passage that you wanted to read. I thought I'd give you a chance to read that first, and then from there, just ask each of you how we can be praying for you. But I'd love to hear what you have for us today.
Sure. So our verse today is Ephesians 1, 16 through 19. Where'd it go here? I do not cease to give thanks for you, remembering you in my prayers, that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of glory, may give you a spirit of wisdom and of revelation in the knowledge of him, having the eyes of your hearts enlightened, that you may know what is the hope to which he has called you, what are the riches of his glorious inheritance in the saints, and what is the immeasurable greatness of his power toward us who believe. And so we dedicate Sophia, whose name means wisdom, and we are just very, very thankful for her.
Oh, that's awesome, you guys. So, Brian, I'll start with you. Like, how can we be praying for you as a dad and as you continue on this journey of parenthood? What are things we can be putting you before God in prayer with?
Yeah, for us, and we were discussing this a bit beforehand, we have the same but slight different variations on our prayer, and that is that we have peace and patience, and I'll say the energy to slow down, especially right now with how much we see each other 24/7. It's a more purposeful effort to be thoughtful so that we can teach and lead our kids out of example and not just by teaching them God's love and joy. So patience and energy, I think the balance would be great.
I totally get that. You are very outnumbered right now. So both of those things are excellent requests. So how about you, Megan? I'd love to hear from you what we can be praying for you for.
I think mine reflects Brian's a lot. Patience and I think for me, wisdom as I'm teaching the kids this year and decided to homeschool, and energy in the same way to just give them all the attention and love that they deserve and need, and to just be a godly mom.
Oh, that's awesome, you guys. Well, I love it. Well, thank you for letting us be a part of this process. So we're definitely going to be praying for you as a church. We know, especially, it's a unique time for all of the families, since, like you were just saying, you're together a lot, which is a real blessing. But also, it's something that we all continue to kind of work out as we go. So I appreciate you guys' time, and we're excited to be praying for you and dedicating your family and your child and just your lives on this particular Sunday. So thank you for that.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Well, you know what? Hey, I want to thank you for being with us. For us right now doing it, it's this afternoon, but everybody's going to be watching this on Sunday morning. And so it's great to be with you all and see your sweet, precious little girl. But how about we start off by you just kind of giving us your names and just sharing, again, just who you are.
So we're the Adams. I'm Lindsay. This is Steve. This is Evelina, who everybody calls Evie. She is our youngest of three. Our oldest are Knox and Asa, but they are otherwise occupied right now, or it'd be a little too crazy. So.
No, I think that's wonderful. Well, it's really great to be doing this with you guys. And especially, we keep laughing with the different families we're doing this with and how this is like COVID unique. So this will be the most memorable of all of the dedications, right? You can't forget 2020 all the way around. So with that said, let me start maybe with you, Steve. What's a way that we as a church can be praying for you as a dad? Now you have your first daughter, which is super exciting. Girls are really, really great. But I don't know just any way that we can be praying for you, that we can kind of lift you up that way.
No, I mean, I guess just that I would do a good job as a dad. I mean, yeah, I've done it before, but there's definitely things I could have done better.
No, that's awesome. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
And how about you, Lindsay? So what are some things that we can be praying for you as a mom? And, you're at this point, you all are outnumbered. So now you're 3-2 outnumbered.
Well, right.
Yeah. I mean, definitely wisdom, just because I've been a boy mom for 9 years, and now we have a baby girl to add on to it. I mean, obviously I'm a girl, but I grew up as a girl, never mothered a girl. So wisdom. And then, I mean, I think every parent, patience. I'm home with them all the time now. Home with all of them. The other two are doing school while I'm working. So, I mean, like, patience. And then I think just that we set the right examples for them, difference between good and wrong, and right and wrong. And just remember something that actually you said in one of your sermons that I think kind of stuck with both of us, that we're not raising kids, we're raising adults. Mm-hmm. So just to remember that when we're trying to teach them, it's not how we want you to act right now, but how is this going to, how do we want you to be acting 10 years from now, or even 3 years from now? And just remember that it's the long game. Parenting isn't a sprint, it's a marathon.
No, I think that's awesome. I think that's a fantastic prayer all the way around, because it really is true, right? Like, we have these little people, but they're going to spend most of their lives as big people. And so, to really kind of point the arrow in that direction, I think that's awesome. So, well, hey, we're excited to be doing this with you guys, to be doing this very creative way of parent-child dedication, but we're thrilled to be just contributing to that process, to be praying for you as a family. And it's awesome to see you guys. It really is a great thing to be able to see your faces. And she is beautiful, beautiful little girl. So
thank you. Can you say bye, Evie? Evie, bye.
Can you say bye?
Or smile?
Bye.
Or smile.
Can you who's this? Who's this?
Well, hello to all of you that is Redemption Church, but right now I'm really wanting to speak to those three families that we were just introduced to. And it's a great privilege to be a part of a very unique way of dedicating you as parents and dedicating your sweet, precious little children to the things of Jesus. And so with this, I just want to talk to you sets of parents for just a moment to encourage you as you go into this great enterprise of what Lindsay was just saying, which is really raising adults. And of all the pieces of wisdom I could ever give, here's a couple of things that I think are so important for us. The first thing is this: grace will always win. The gospel in the lives of our children will always win. Like, we can't control all the things they do, all the decisions they make, but we can always react in such a way that what they know at the end of the day is that God is a God of grace, that grace is actually the only thing to solve all of our problems, and that grace is most shown in the person of Jesus, who came, who served, who died, and who rose again for us. And so as we're raising our kids and we're giving them rules and standards and regulations and trying to impart wisdom, in the midst of that, never lose sight of the fact that we are all dependent on grace and we're all dependent on the gospel. And so that's the first thing. The second thing, the lesson that I learned in a very painful way, is fear can never be our motivator. Faith always has to drive us as parents. And so the more you lean into that, again, when you know you can't control everything, but you know God has everything in his charge and under his control, the more we lean into him in those hard and pressing moments as parents, the better off we're going to be. And our children will see that. They'll see that we put our faith in God more than we try to control everything in our fears. And so as you move forward as parents, in grace, in the gospel, in faith, you will model the stuff that hopefully in time your children will learn as well, and they will trust those same things in their lives. And so right now, I want to pray for you as parents. I want to pray for your children as we dedicate these babies to the Lord. Again, we're dedicating them in such a way that they will come to experience that life-enriching, life-changing power of Jesus and gospel and faith. And so if you would all, as a church, join me right now in praying for these families continually as we dedicate them and their children to the Lord today. Let's pray together. Jesus, I thank you for the fact that you are a God of heritage, you are a God of generations, and you call us to raise our family in the spirit of those generations. And so with that, I pray for these three families right now, that you will give them tenacity and focus, that you will give them a deep hunger for grace and gospel and faith, and on those trying and hard days, that they will be reminded by your Spirit to lean into those truths and realities. Even when it seems very counterintuitive and we'd rather turn to law and control and fear, which is a very normal human component for us, I pray that we will resist those inclinations, that they will lean hard into your power, and from that they will be able to all the more be those parents that you've called them to be. And in that they will experience freedom in trusting you in those ways. And then, Jesus, we think about these three sweet little babies that, you know what, we dedicate them to you. We know that you care about them more than even their parents care about them. And so we dedicate them to your care, to your hand, to your provision, and to your sovereignty. And so we thank you again for life. We thank you that you love generations. And I pray that these generations continue to pass on your love, your grace, your faith, and your truth to these children. We dedicate them to you now in your good name. Amen.
Amen. Awesome, exciting things to know that we are raising adults, and just been praying for all you parents. I know it's tough times too for those raising kids and having to do school and all those things online. We're going to worship now. I encourage you virtually with us out there in your living rooms to sing along, to lift up a joyful noise to God. We're going to sing this song. We sang it once a few weeks ago, Only Jesus, and it is only him that we worship. All right, here we go. Here's the verse. Who is the way, the truth, the life? Yes, who is the holy word of light? Who is the vision of our eyes? Who is the love that will abide? Well, only Jesus, only Jesus, who is truest life. Yes, only Jesus Christ, only Jesus, only Jesus, who is lifted purpose of our days. Yes, who is the hope that doesn't fade? Well, who is our courage and our strength? Oh, who is the fullness of our faith? Only Jesus, yeah, only Jesus. Who is truest life? Only Jesus Christ, yeah. Only Jesus, only Jesus. Who is lifted high? Only Jesus Christ, yeah. Only Jesus, only Jesus. Oh. Well, you are the way, the truth, and the life. You are the blood, the water, the vine. You are the word and you are the light. Only Jesus. You are the way, the truth, and the life. You are the blood, the water, the vine. You are the word, oh, you are the light. Only Jesus. Only Jesus. Only Jesus Christ. Only Jesus. Only Jesus. Who is lifted high? Only Jesus Christ. Well, you are the way, the truth, and the life. You are the blood, the water, the vine. You are the word and you are the light. Only Jesus. Yeah, you are the way, the truth, and the life. You are the blood, the water, the vine. You are the word and you are the light. Only Jesus, only Jesus. Only He is the one. And, as we're going to sing this song, Oh God, I love how it talks about that we are joined together by the blood of Christ. And, I was thinking about it. We are all separated out there physically, but we are joined together. If you realize, all of us watching today, joined together by the blood of Jesus. We are one body. We are one community in Christ, and I wanted to encourage you that. However, maybe alone or separated you might feel, that we are together in Him, and He is here for all of our needs. blood. Yes, we are. And hope will rise as we become more than conquerors through the one who loved the world. Help us, Lord, with that. Height nor depth nor anything else can pull us apart. We are joined as one by your blood. Oh, hope will rise as we become more than conquerors through the one who loved the world. Oh God, you never leave my side. Oh, your love, oh Lord, yes, your love stands firm through all my life. Oh, sing it out, oh God, oh God. You never leave my side. Your love, oh Lord, it stands firm through my life. Yeah, oh God. Would you bow your heads in a word of prayer with me? Jesus, I thank you that we as a people are joined together because of what you did for us. Your blood shed for us, that we have new life, have a hope. God, and help us to realize that we are a part of a bigger body. Even as everyone watches out there in their homes, to know that they are connected to a bigger church. Jesus, I thank you for that. I pray for these families too, God, raising kids, you just to be with them and have your blessing over them, to help them through these times, Jesus. Thank you that you are near us. Help us to be aware of that and see that in all the ways that we can, Jesus. We love you and praise you for your goodness to us. In your name, amen, amen. Amen. Thanks for worshiping and taking the time to connect to God this morning. We hope that you will enjoy the rest, too, of today's service.
Welcome to Redemption Church, welcome to Ecclesiastes, and welcome to our topic for the day, Don't Be an Idiot. Yes, you're welcome. All right. Now, before we get into our ideology for the day, I want to remind you that we have an app with notes, and so if you'd like to follow along with those notes today, that would be excellent. I'm not going to say awesome because I've already said that 45 times today in the video. If we were creating a drinking game, it would be every time Ed says awesome, and then you take a drink of lemonade. All right. So anyway, that's the first thing. Don't forget the notes are in the app. The second thing is we have an amazing kids ministry, and they are every week putting out videos for our kids. And so don't forget to tune into that as well with your kids. So those are linked on Facebook as well. I think we also put the link in YouTube, so you can track it along either one of those lines, and that would be great. And then just as one last reminder, today at 2 o'clock, of course, is our members meeting, but at 3 o'clock is a church-wide, anybody who wants to attend on YouTube Live. And so you want to put that on your calendar. I know it's sort of a kind of nice day out there for what the time of year is, but you want to make sure you do that. Now, for some reason, if you can't make that meeting, we will keep that archived for a little while, so you can catch it up in the next week. We'll probably send out an email sending that out as well to you. just in case you missed, but we want everybody to be very aware of all that's going on, so that's kind of our heart. Now, with that said, we got a lot of room to cover in Ecclesiastes today, so I want to go ahead and pray, and we're going to get right underway. So go ahead and join me right now. Jesus, I thank you for the fact that you are a God of wisdom, and you, in your grace, impart us with the ability to learn wisdom. And it's hard. It's a life journey. We kind of succeed and fail in that. But I pray that our heart is to continue to grow, not because there's always a sure thing in wisdom, but ultimately because it's better for life, and it really will bring out more worship toward you. And so I pray today, as we look at what it means to not be an idiot and instead to be wise in our world, that we will do so with a sensitivity that says we have to rely on you to see that accomplished. So guide us, teach us, and show us what that looks like, Jesus, in your awesome and perfect name. Amen. So, as I was thinking through this week and this topic, my brain, the title, in fact, actually is not original to me, but comes from The Office. Now, I have more than once used The Office as an example in Ecclesiastes, and this probably taps into my all-time favorite episode, opening scene in The Office. And so it's Michael Scott, the boss, and then it's Dwight Schrute, his associate, and they're talking, and Michael asks Dwight, "What was the best piece of advice I've ever given you?" And Dwight says, "Don't be an idiot. Changed my life." And I love that because then it flashes to Dwight and he's sitting there and he says, you know what? I've just realized in life when I'm about to do something, I ask myself, would an idiot do that? And if an idiot would do that thing, I do not do that thing. So brilliant. Matter of fact, let's just close in prayer. All right, so no. Yeah, I know. It's like, honestly, we could stop right there and be perfect, because it's so good. But here's the thing. To not be an idiot is also very challenging because when I reflect on Genesis chapter 3, and I look at the rebellion of Eden, I look at what happened in all of that, here was the reality that came from our sin nature. Idiot became easy. Right? It just became easy to do idiotic things, to do foolish things, stupid things, things that are dumb in the real world. And what's uniquely challenging about that is what I found over the course of nearly 50 years of life is that these ideas, these opportunities for being an idiot, they sort of come easy to us. Like there's always going to be some room to do something in a way that's going to be more dumb than it is maybe good or healthy for us. And I think about this even uniquely as living in the United States, the American culture. It seems that for whatever reason, not only is there the opportunity to do some dumb things, but in a strange sort of way, we actually tend to want to reward the dumb things that people do. It's like, this is why every reality television show exists, right? Like you look at most of those, and what it is whoever is the most reckless, crazy, foolish, shameless person, well, that person, they're going to probably win. In fact, I was shocked. I noticed last week that Jersey Shores is coming back. How is Jersey Shores coming back? It's because we're like, yes, give us more idiots. And I'm like, no, we don't need that. We have had a war on poverty. We have had a war on drugs. We need a war on dumbness. That's what we need as a society and as a culture. Or as my wife likes to say, dummy heads or dummy dumbs. We don't need dummy heads. We don't need dummy dumbs. What we need is a campaign to develop wisdom. But as we will see today, it is hard. See, idiot is easy. It really is easy. It's just like, it's gravity. It's just going to take you down that road with very minimal effort. But to be wise, well, that takes awareness. It takes patience. It takes humility. It takes self-control, personal honesty, and a sense of nuance, right? Where in the nuance, you can kind of weave through the terrain and figure out what's the wisest thing to do in any given circumstance. In fact, to kind of prime the pump on why I think wisdom is hard to see achieved. Like we think it's easy, but why I think it's hard to see achieved, I want to take us out of Ecclesiastes for just a moment and actually take us to the prequel to Ecclesiastes, which is Proverbs. And so with that, I want you to understand the relationship between those two. Solomon wrote Proverbs in a very idealistic way. You do this, it's bad. You do this, it's good. And then he wrote Ecclesiastes to say, but sometimes life is really messy. So Proverbs is very clean cut, and Ecclesiastes is very messy. But inside Proverbs, he has this little section in chapter 26 that shows us why wisdom's so difficult. So let me take you over here to this particular passage in Proverbs. He says, don't answer the foolish arguments of fools, or you will become as foolish as they are. be sure to answer the foolish arguments of fools, or they will become wise in their own estimation. Now, you're looking at this right now and you're saying, all right, Matt, you're messing with me, right? Which thing am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to do verse 4 or am I supposed to do verse 5? Well, the answer is yes. You are having to do both simultaneously. And so here's what Solomon is getting at with this particular idea. He's saying you have to exercise wisdom that is nuanced in such a way that you can categorize the types of fools that you deal with in life. So he says, there are some fools that are so foolish, you don't even want to bother engaging it. That's verse 4. Like you have to be able to kind of go, I'm going to put you in the category of you can't really be fixed. Instead, you should apply for a reality television show. Like that's one type of fool. But then the other fool is this one right here where you say, that fool, even though they have problems, even though they're going down kind of poor roads, they can be salvaged or they can be steered in the right direction. See, that's the heart behind it. So what he's getting at in essence is that some foolishness, it can be cured, and other foolishness is just terminal. And we then have to figure that out. But I'll tell you why this is really, really hard. One is, again, it requires nuance, it requires a certain level of work. But the other part is we're all too human, right? We have the same challenges. We're just as fallible and susceptible to doing foolish things. Even in trying to help a fool, we can be foolish. So this is going to take some work. It's not just this simple one-day fix or whatever else. No, we have to approach this in a very sensitive way, right? And so this is where Solomon is going to take us. He's going to take us on a journey of how to be wise in a real-world context. And the place he wants to start us off is actually this first point in your notes if you're taking it, or you're taking them. He says, seek to live by life-thriving wisdom. If you're going to do life well, you want to seek to live by life-thriving wisdom. Now, I want you to notice, I actually intentionally use this phrase, life-thriving. Because for Solomon, he doesn't look at wisdom and he's like, I'm going to write some pithy statements and everybody goes, ooh, yeah, deep. What do I do with that? Like, that's not his thing. He's not like trying to figure out how to fill a fortune cookie with little statements of wisdom. That's not his heart. He wants this real world utility to his wisdom. He wants a wisdom that is exercised in such a way that people actually flourish, that the world is made better by that wisdom. So he's not just trying to be profound. He's trying to be practical. So he starts in chapter 8, verse 1, and he says, how wonderful to be wise and to analyze and interpret things. Wisdom lights up a person's face, softening its harshness. This is so good for so many different reasons. Now, I want to be clear as we go into chapter 8. I want us to remember what he's already said about wisdom. He said, you know what? It's not going to solve every problem. It's not going to always be airtight, but he still said we should pursue it and we should try to exercise it. And in this passage, we start to get a feel for why he says that. The first reason is he says it's a great filter for life, right? If you can analyze and interpret things through the grid of wisdom, it's going to be very, very helpful. So you want to use it that way. But he says you don't want to be a know-it-all in it. You don't want to be arrogant with it. You don't want to be I told you so. And you don't want that pride associated with the wisdom, which is why the second element is not just that wisdom is a great filter, but I want to go back to what it says here. Go back up to the verse. I'm sorry about that. So what he says is this wisdom lights up a person's face. Now in Hebrew, what's interesting about this lights up here, that little phrase, it's the same Hebrew phrase for favor or grace. So what he's saying is a truly wise person isn't just smart, isn't just able to navigate, but a truly wise person actually has this spirit or disposition in which their face lights things up. It dismantles the harshness. There's a pleasantness, or literally they're exuding grace. And here's why I think this is so important, especially for us as followers of Jesus who embrace the gospel and embrace his message. We are the people that should look the sweetest, not the most sour. And here's the thing sometimes I find with Christians, it's as though we're carrying ourselves in life or on social media or in certain contexts like we have a lemon in one cheek and the lime in the other, and we're just sort of kind of downward in our countenance. Or it looks like we have a chip on our shoulder and people are like, is that a chip? And you're like, yeah, salt and vinegar, get over it. You know, like we don't want to be those people. Because here's the thing, truly wise people, according to the Bible, again, aren't just people filled with information, but they're filled with the spirit of generosity. They're the kinds of people that are approachable. If we're sour, we're not going to often be approached. And often, we're not even going to feel to others as though we could be approached. And so Solomon is giving us some real practical, helpful advice when it comes to wisdom, just saying, you know what, it kind of starts with being sweet in your countenance, helpful in your understanding of things, and in your presentation of thought. So that's how he kind of anchors this. But then he's going to take us down this very interesting road, which is he's going to apply this chapter 8, verse 1 verse to a very weird context. And he's going to take us into the world of a political bureaucrat. That's the way he's going to illustrate this. And at this point, you're like, yay, a political bureaucrat. Right? Like, you're like, really? Of all the examples? Well, here's why this is a great example in chapter 8. He's dealing with office politics. So this is where it's practical. He's like, you want to be wise in the real life stuff. And here's a real life example, a live fire exercise. Going to work and dealing with the different personalities in the office. What do you need to do when it comes to wisdom? That's where he's going to take us. And what he's going to start off with is this next point in your notes. In life's decisions, know what you're signing up for, right? You want to really know how you're putting your name on the dotted line of this whole thing. So here's what he says in verse 2. He says, obey the king since you vowed to God that you would. Don't try to avoid doing your duty. So we understand this, but from a cultural perspective or the context of this passage, here's what he's getting at. Here's a person that he is talking to as the king. Maybe they've signed up to make a pledge to the king to fulfill his duties and decrees and serve the court of the king. And he's saying, you got to make sure that when you sign up for that and you vow you're going to do that, you're going to hold to the promise that you're making. See, for us, this is really kind of fundamental. The first thing is this. Don't make any commitments, or rather maybe don't rush into any commitments that you're going to make. That's the first thing. Don't rush into the commitments because of the second thing. Once you're in the commitment, you're actually committed to what you're committing yourself to. So those are very basic, right? From a wisdom perspective, he's like, don't jump on board too quick, too impetuously. No, you want to slow down because once you're in, you're in. Now, again, like I said, I know none of you have signed a pledge to support the king because we don't have a king. I get it. But there are other things in our life where this does apply. So there are times when we are given a contract, right? Maybe it's to lease a car or to buy a home or to take out a loan. And what he's saying is, in wisdom, know in advance, like, these are the conditions. I've counted the cost. I know in 6 months I'm not going to regret this because now I'm house poor, or I have this lease I don't want, or I took out a loan that I can't really afford even though the bank said we'll let you have it. Like, he says, no, you want to slow down and make sure you can stay committed to what you're committing to. Same with work, right? So if you're going to take a job, know in advance that you're the right fit, that they're the right fit for you as best as you can. It won't be perfect or airtight, but you should have enough of that sense of like, I want to make sure I can stay committed. I think about this even with marriage, right? If you're dating a person and you're thinking like, this may be the one, but I've got some hesitation, he'd be like, don't like just enter into it thinking, well, it might fix itself in time. And certainly don't think, if I marry this person, it's fine, I can fix them afterward. Right. See, these are the kinds of things that Solomon would say, you know what? You don't want to jump in too quickly because once you're in, you're in. So he says this kind of wisdom that can analyze and interpret, he says it's useful because it can help you avoid reckless or impetuous or gullible or emotionally driven decisions. All of which we can get sucked into. And again, uniquely in our culture, we're good at getting sucked into some of those impetuous and emotional decisions. So he says, wisdom protects you. Because you need to know, whatever enterprise you enter into, you have to make sure that enterprise is right, and then you need to make sure that you're going to do what is right once in the enterprise, whatever it might be. And he's saying this in part because he knows that so often for people, we get into things, we think we're going to do it right, but we're going to find as things begin to fall apart or become challenging that there's going to be voices in our world that tempt us to do wrong in the enterprise. This is why he continues in verse 3. He says, don't try to avoid doing your duty and don't stand with those who plot evil, for the king can do whatever he wants. His command is backed by great power. No one can resist or question that authority of the king. And so again, I want to give you the context. There's an individual, let's say it's you, and you're working for Solomon. But you're in this broader court of other people, And some of these other people, even though they're serving the king, they may have other agendas. They may see the world differently. And they're going to want to approach you and say, come on, we know that Solomon's nuts, man. He's got 700 wives, 300 concubines. He's making all these allegiances with all of our enemies. We need to somehow depose the king. We need to challenge the king. We need to go against what we pledged to do for the king. So come on, go with this. This guy's nuts. Let's take over. It might be something that nefarious. Or it might be even you. You pledged yourself to the king. You said, I'm going to do all of the policies. And now you're realizing those policies are not so great. So what should you do? Well, here what Solomon is saying is you're going to be tempted to amend your commitments. You're going to be tempted to go against what you said you would do, because then you're looking at the conditions and saying, this isn't fair, this isn't right, I don't like it, maybe they're right, we need to just basically break our promise. And Solomon says true wisdom is not going to break its promise, because true wisdom goes into it knowing once you've made a promise, you keep it. See, one of the biggest challenges we find in our society is it's very hard to trust people to keep their word anymore. It's very hard to find people stating the truth and then keeping that standard no matter what. And that's what he's addressing here. He says, if you said you would do it, you do it. You can't get out of it no matter what, because that's what character is all about. Now, if you want to throw your character out the window and just be practical and get things done, that's a whole nother issue, but he's going to call that wickedness and folly. But the wise and godly person does the right thing. If you don't do the right thing, you're going to enter the court of fools. You're just going to listen to their voice and follow along. And that is a tough thing, because you know what we see in our world? That happens. It's every time that we get tempted, right, in some capacity to amend the conditions. So we are in our marriage, and we thought it was going to be a certain way, and now it's not, and that's where we get tempted. Or we go into a job and we thought it was going to be a certain way and it's not. Or maybe you volunteer for an organization or whatever else and you start doing this volunteer thing and the people involved start giving you a hard time and you're like, wait, I'm giving my free time to do this and you're all being very difficult. Or it's like friends of mine I know that have signed up to the military and they thought it was going to be like this, but it ends up being like that. Or people that went into the police force and they thought it was going to be like A and now it's like B. And the list can go on and on where we all enter into things that we thought were going to be a certain way and they're not. And then from that, we want to amend the conditions. We don't necessarily want to stand up and keep doing the right thing we promised to do. We're going to get tempted to that. And it's in that temptation that you have one of two choices. The first choice, which is the wrong choice, is to be a punk, right? And to be a punk, it's really simple. You go, all right, in this job, I thought it was going to be like this. It's not. I've got this person I work with that is trying to undermine me. They gossip about me. I got a manager that seems to be gunning for me. So I'm going to go to HR and report my manager, even though they're not really doing something wrong. It's the only power I can leverage. I'm going to fight fire with fire. I'm going to gossip about them as they gossip about me. I'm going to slander them as they slander me. I'm going to undermine their work because I feel like they're undermining my work. And that is being a punk. Right? It's where we say that's the only way you can win is you got to throw the gloves down. You can't be a nice person. You have to be kind of ruthless to win. That is being a punk when you're like, I'm going to join the court of fools. The same is true in marriage, right? Where you go, I promise to love, honor, and cherish, but they're not loving, honoring, and cherishing me. Therefore, I don't have to do that to them anymore. They push my buttons, I can push their buttons, right? That's joining the court of fools. Another way we sometimes join the court of fools is we start doling out bad advice to people when their conditions fall apart. Instead of giving them godly counsel and wise wisdom and biblical insight, we instead go, you don't deserve that. And we give terrible, earthly, kind of, get it done in the moment, but doesn't really honor God advice. I mean, all of this is what Solomon is warning of. He says that's to join in with wickedness and folly and stupidity. That's the stuff of stupidity. It's membership in the court of fools. He says, you don't want to do that, but you can be a punk. That's one way. The other way is instead of being a punk, you say, I'm going to come up with a plan. I'm going to have a plan that is thoughtful and wise. And so that's where he then takes us. He says, learn to fix problems that idiots create without picking fights in the midst of that, right? So idiots are going to create problems. Life is going to create problems. Conditions will create the problems. But we need to learn to fix those without picking a fight in the midst of that. He says, those who obey the king will not be punished. Those who are wise will find a time and a way to do what is right. For there is a time and a way for everything, even when a person is in trouble. So here, I love this because what he's saying is, don't rush in, don't belittle, don't lecture, don't confront when you're trying to plot a course of action. Because if you move toward it too quickly and you're not finding the right time and the right way, all you're going to do is take those people and put them on the defensive. They're going to get angry, they're going to be resistant, whatever else. So he's saying, no, you need to exercise wisdom where you're patient and you're prayerful and you're waiting for that right moment and you're staying humble in the process. You want their genuine good, and so you're trying to figure out what's the time that would bring the best good to bear on the circumstance. And so you're coming up with a wise plan. You're not just being reactive. You're helping genuinely fix. And part of this, and this is what I've learned in my own life, and I still fail at this, part of this process of trying to find the right time and the right way is also for me to check myself, right? To check my tone, to check my motives, and to make sure I'm not just rushing into something to get it done or rushing into something because I think I'm right. But again, trying to slow down and say, I want to be a vehicle for helpfulness and peacemaking and change. I want to fix something without picking other needless fights. And I want to fix something without harming everybody in my presence as I'm trying to fix it. There has to be a better way. Now, is this going to be easy? Absolutely not. I mean, look what Solomon said. When you're trying to help somebody that's engaged in something foolish or created a problem, he says it is a trouble that will weigh heavy on you, right? So it's not the most efficient way. It's going to be a weighty thing. And the people you're trying to help or the circumstance you're trying to put back on the rails, well, that's going to weigh heavily on other people too. So it's a heavy weight. But if we exude grace and we stay patient, we seek wisdom, and we look for the best right opportunity, well, that's the greatest chance for success. But I want to camp on what I just said there by saying it's the greatest chance for success. What I want to be clear about, and I want you to pay attention, is that you could exercise all of that perfectly. You could bring excellent wisdom, perfect timing, genuine heart, gracious disposition, and it still can fail. It can still blow up in your face. There is no guarantee that the practice of wisdom always works out. In fact, that's really his next point. It's a disclaimer that he gives to us. There is no guarantee wisdom will prevail in this world. Verse 7. He says, indeed, how can people avoid what they do not know is going to happen? So in this context, this person in the court is keeping their word, doing the right thing, honoring the king, standing against those who would want to be kind of, divisive. And yet in the end, the king could still say, I don't trust you, I'm going to kill you. Or those divisive people could frame you for something you didn't do. Or you stand against those divisive people so they conspire to get you booted out. You can't control what happens tomorrow. No matter how wise you are, you could still find yourself on the rails and the train's coming and it's not really your fault, but it's just reality. So we don't know. He says none of us can hold back our spirit from departing. None of us has the power to prevent the day of our death. There is no escaping that obligation, that dark battle. So again, I go back to, you can do it all right. You can be the smartest, calmest, coolest, most collected person, and wisdom is still something that can't rescue you, can't save you, can't keep you from facing a difficult thing. And here's the toughest part about that. After a while, you might start to feel like this doesn't work. Wisdom is not the way to get ahead. And so you throw the gloves off and you fight fire with fire and you're tired of the nice guy finishing last, so you're not going to be the nice guy anymore. And you're going to succeed. Guess what? You might. In fact, there's probably a good chance you could succeed doing the wrong thing. It happens all the time. People succeed all over the place doing the wrong thing. But it's a short-sighted vision. In fact, here's what he goes on to say. He says, in the face of death, wickedness will certainly not rescue the wicked. When we're tempted to say, I can get away with doing the wrong thing to get ahead, he says, can I tell you what? In the end, it doesn't really work. He says, I have thought deeply about all that goes on under the sun where people have this power to hurt each other. He says, I know, I've thought about it, I've contemplated, I've seen it. It will not pay off because here's the thing I continue to realize more and more. If we sell out our character to secure our life, we will lose both our life and our character. I want to say that again. If we sell out our character to secure our life, we will lose both our life and our character. It's a simple equation because Solomon is looking way down the road and he's saying life isn't as simple as the next 5 years. There's a bigger picture in all of it. And so he says, you need to remain wise and godly. Now, I'll be blunt with you. In this world today, I think that's a liability. I think being godly, I think being righteous, I think being wise, frankly, is a liability in our culture. But you know what? It's important. It's a liability that we still want to live out. And Solomon knew it was a liability in his day. He would witness it happen. In fact, here's what he says in verse 10. He says, I have seen wicked people buried with honor. He's like, how is this? How is it the righteous man, they seem to lose so often, but the wicked get buried with honor? He says, yet these were the very ones who frequented the temple and are now praised in the same city where they committed their crimes. This is so meaningless, he says. I can't even fathom this. But think about this. I mean, I was really contemplating how even in our society, we elevate, celebrate, and emulate all of these bad behaviors. I'm not saying necessarily as Christians, but as a culture, just boil it down for a minute. We take the personalities that are the most bombastic and we go, yes, send them out to represent us. We take people that just decide to do the most outlandish things on social media and they go viral. In media and pop culture, it's those people that push the boundaries and do really, really crazy things and do those things where you're like, man, I don't even know how right that is, but I'm just drawn to it somehow. Like those are royalty in pop and political culture. The nice guys, nice girls who do nice things, not so much. It's not like things that go viral or like people that read poetry and sonnets. The things that go viral are people saying, here, hold my beer and watch this. This is the brokenness that we see around us. And the weirdest part is that same kind of stuff breeds more of the same. This is why he says in verse 11, he says, when a crime is not punished quickly, people feel it's safe to do wrong. Now, I know some of you are like, yeah, that's right. If we don't have like real swift punishment for the crimes of our culture, then more criminals come forward. And I go, absolutely. But can I tell you another part of this? It's equally true. It's when we don't actually say poor behavior is poor behavior. When we don't say, you know what, that's dishonoring, that doesn't magnify the importance of life. When we just let kind of crazy be the norm, well, then crazy becomes the norm. In fact, I remember this going back 4 years ago, and this isn't a political thing, but it was this like, wow, this is really strange. And so back in 2016, you had that giant Republican field. I mean, there was like 18 people in the field or 16 people, and they would have these debates, and usually it's about policy and insight and everything else. And it started to boil down into this weird thing where pretty soon they were calling each other just silly sandbox names and talking about how the size of one's hand compared to maybe some things in their private region. And I'm watching this. Here's our political leaders degrading down to this lower and lower standard of name calling. It sounded like junior high. And it just reminds me that when these things really go unchecked, it just magnifies more of the same. And people were getting into that same weird tuffle of just, really, this is what we're now talking about? We're talking about our private regions in a political debate? But this is what happens when we say, well, you're just going to have to tolerate it. It's just the way it works. It's just how things are. It allows folly to kind of flourish. The fools continue to get ahead, and it undermines wisdom. In fact, he says this in verse 14. He says, and this is not all that is meaningless in our world. He says, in this life, good people are often treated as though they were wicked, and wicked people are often treated as though they were good. This is so meaningless. And again, I was just thinking about this and how we invert things that used to be good and they become bad. I was thinking about a friend of mine that worked on Capitol Hill for about a decade, so worked with members of both the House and the Senate. And she was talking about how there used to be a time where the word compromise was a value, and that these different people and parties would compromise to try to solve problems for the people of the United States. But how now compromise is a vice. And if you compromise with the other side, you're a sellout. And so something was good has now become bad, and in that it becomes harming. See, this is why wisdom is to always look at foolishness and not be mean and not be sharp, but to say, foolish is foolish. That's unhealthy. That's unwise. That hurts. That harms. Let's not invert these things to where foolish is now celebrated and wisdom is seen as a problem. But Solomon says, man, I've seen that happen time and again. It happens in all these areas of life. And so he wants to get us then to a bottom line. And the bottom line is this: being faithful is always better than being successful. This person that's serving in his court, that's going through all of this, he tells that person in advance, I'm telling you, you want to be faithful. It might cost you being successful. You might find that in the end, you experience the opposite of success. You might feel like failure, but it's ultimately better. He says it this way. He says, but even though a person sins 100 times and still lives a long life, I know that those who fear God will be better off. The wicked will not prosper, for they do not fear God. Their days will never grow long like the evening shadows. This is so helpful and good for us to really wrestle with, right? Because it is very tempted to say, man, I'm not getting ahead. I'm going to just do my own thing. And he says, I'm telling you, wickedness will not pay off in the long run. It won't. If you live foolishly, it's going to be loss. You live wisely, it's going to be gain. Maybe not in this life, but this life is bigger than just the 80, 90 years that we're here. This is why Jesus says, you know what? If you lose everything in this life, he says you actually gain 100-fold in this life and the life to come. I don't quite know what that means, but Jesus said it and I believe it. I don't know how that plays out, but what Jesus was basically saying is, you want to stay committed to faithfulness, don't sell yourself short by just trying to be successful at the cost of being faithful. That's true wisdom, and that's true life. Now, right now, you might be saying, okay, Matt, great, I get it. But how do I then do life well in this inequity between wickedness and wisdom? I mean, if wickedness seems to prevail more in the world than wisdom, but I'm supposed to be wise, then what do I need to do? How should I move forward in life? Well, Solomon, for the umpteenth time, is going to tell us again, just chillax. You just got to chillax. What's he tell us? He says it this way, so I recommend having fun, because there's nothing better for people in this world than they eat and drink and enjoy life. That way they will experience some happiness along the way with all the hard work God gives them under the sun. He keeps telling this over and over and over to just do that. Not everything's going to be great. Not everything's going to be right. And sometimes you just got to stop and say, I'm going to enjoy the little things. Now, right now, I'm sure there's some of you saying, but Matt, look around what's going on. We've got political problems, environmental problems, economic problems, medical problems. We've got racial problems, all these problems. We need to fix the problems. And Solomon says, no, you need to fix some nachos. You need to slow down and just have an iced tea. It can be Lipton or it can be like Long Island. You can have lemonade or a lemon drop, whatever it is. He says, but slow down, right? He's like, go watch The Mandalorian with your family. Go play Settlers of Catan. Go on a walk with your friend or your spouse. Go to the dog park. Pick up a hobby. Sew some masks. That would be an option right there. We can all do those kinds of things. Now, I know some people are like, but Matt, aren't you worried about like socialists taking over the Senate? Aren't you worried about like how social media is hacking our free will? Aren't you concerned about the fall of the West? And frankly, I'm like, I'm more concerned that I'm going into Thanksgiving and I don't have a gym to walk off the damage, right? Like, that's more the concern. Now, I'm not trying to undermine or downplay the problems of our world. There are real problems. But here's what I realized in my own life. In fact, this week, one of my greatest sins was I tried to displace God and just be him for the week, right? So there was this sense from where I was like, I'm taking the whole world and putting it on my shoulders. So I was feeling all the weight. And I'm like, man, I've got to worry about all these weighty things. And it was like between my wife and the Holy Spirit, there was this reminder that said, you know what? You are operating way above your pay grade, and you're no good at that. You're no good at that. We're not called to put the weight of the world on our shoulders. We don't always understand what God is doing. We don't always understand the dynamics. But you know what? We're not meant to. Solomon gets that. That's why he tells us to chillax. We don't know the full picture. In fact, he closes out this chapter. He says, in my search for wisdom and my observation of people's burdens here on earth, I discovered that there is ceaseless activity day and night. People are constantly trying to control the world and they can't. He says, I've realized that no one can discover everything that God is doing under the sun. Not even the wisest people discover everything, no matter what they claim. Here was my walk away for the week. I know less than half of everything. And instead of putting the whole world on my shoulders, what Solomon reminds us in wisdom is that, in fact, what I need to do is remember that Jesus holds the whole world in the sovereignty of his hands. And instead of trying to fix everything, I need to just do my part, play my role, be wise, have conviction,
be thoughtful in what I do, and trust him all along the way. Let's go ahead and pray together. Jesus, I thank you for the fact that you love us enough to challenge us. I thank you that you love us enough to push us toward the direction of wisdom. And in that, I confess my sin that so often I want to be smart and not wise. I want to think I'm being so smart I can solve everything when I, in fact, can solve very little. And then in that, I might even sacrifice wisdom. I might default to trying to be successful over be faithful. And I pray that we all, if we struggle with that, we would repent of that we would trust you, enjoy the little things, do what we're supposed to do, but that we won't put the weight of the world on our shoulders because, again, that's not in our job description. What's in our description is to worship you, to fear you, to share you, to love those around us, and to be faithful to your commission. Help us do that in your good name. Amen.
Sing the blessing over you. Just receive this today. The Lord bless you and keep you, oh, and make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. And give you peace. May his blessing be upon you to be faithful in all that you do. Thank you so much for being here with us today. This concludes our service. We will see you later, hopefully at our meetings this afternoon. And have a fantastic Thanksgiving also. And we will see you next week after that. Take care. Bye-bye.